The Human Loop podcast, powered by Ethereum. Ollie, welcome to The Human Loop. Really pleased to have you here. Why don't you introduce yourself and what you do to our audience?
Perfect. Thanks, Ben. Pleased to be here. So my name's Ollie Whiting. I'm the Group CEO of La Fosse. We are a 200 million turnover staffing and consulting business. So we've got a tech recruitment business, but we've also got a consulting business that does a hire, train, deploy, reskilling apprenticeships, and also a data AI consultancy. We're largely 90% UK based, 10% across EMEA, headquartered in London. I've been with the business for 10 years on that trajectory, but most importantly, we're an employee-owned business. So that was a transition we made in 2023. So now 75% of the business is owned by employees, which is pretty unique for our size, scale, and industry. Personally, though, I'm an Arsenal fan, coming off of a very good week. Heading to the Champions League final next weekend. I am a family man. I have a little boy called Lennox. He is named after my favourite boxer, Lennox Lewis. I live in Dulwich. I grew up in Devon, and I studied in Bournemouth, where I hear you're from.
Very good. We like a bit of Bournemouth, don't we, guys? Yeah, we do.
It's a big Bournemouth vibe in here today.
I didn't know. Well, I knew you were into boxing.
Yeah.
But calling your son Lennox, Lennox Lewis was a great boxer.
Yeah.
Growing up.
Exactly.
I can get behind that.
I must confess, I didn't. When Helen and I were picking names, and she had a short list of names, and I got my one of the 5 shortlist names on there, which was Lennox, and she didn't know why Lennox was on there until after we'd settled on the name. So
brilliant! You just got that through. So one thing we haven't talked, and we've known each other for a little bit. One thing you don't know is, so I tried to get Enzo on the naming veto list, etc. for our first.
Yeah.
He's called Austin.
Yeah.
So I've got 2 boys, one called Austin and one called Morgan. So there's a car theme there.
Yeah.
Enzo, I tried to get Enzo on because I love Ferraris. I love the whole Enzo Ferrari story.
Yeah.
And Sarah vetoed it hard. So well done for getting Lennox through. I like that.
I like Enzo. I like that. It's a strong name.
Yeah. We recently got a second dog, and I tried to get that called Enzo.
That was ruled out.
Nothing. So I need to get some tips from you.
Nice. Might need to buy an Enzo.
Yes. Yeah. Well, once this blows up, we're good. I always ask our guests the same first question, which is, what do you know now as a leader that you didn't know 5 years ago?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this one. I've got kind of a few different answers, so I'll kind of get straight into it. So I used to think in our industry that the successful route to growth was add more headcount, get more revenue, grow the business. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, especially in a services organisation, and especially as I was running the sales teams in previous roles. As CEO, I've really learnt that unmanaged complexity is what kills businesses, and the far quicker than a lack of ambition. So you can have all the ambition you want around headcount growth to grow a business, but unmanaged complexity really kills a business. So lack of priorities, understanding who's in charge of what project, is there good trust working relationships around the senior management team that when a ball's dropped that someone else can pick it up. That far quicker causes a decline. A couple other things that kind of came to mind when I was, when you say that is, am I allowed to swear on this podcast?
Yeah, go for it.
Within reason, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to eat shit, don't nibble it.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Rip that Band-Aid off. Face the problems head on. And that saying stuck with me. I think it's from one of the Ben Horowitz's book, The Hard Thing About Hard Things, and which is a fantastic read. I recommend it to anyone, especially if you're an entrepreneur, a founder, if you like music. There's a strong music theme throughout it. But that kind of mantra. I used to think that. Not even used to think. I think what I've learned now is you got to rip the Band-Aid off as quickly as possible when you spot something. Prolonging for feelings just exacerbates the problem, makes it a lot worse.
Yeah, right. Really, a lot of that really resonates with me. There's a guy called Tom Hodgkinson who was head of British Para Triathlon, who said something similar without saying the word shit to me, which was basically like his mantra to everyone was say it well, say it early. Like if you are going to, like if there is something that isn't working and you haven't said it early and you haven't said it well, as in like timing, phraseology, etc., that was the biggest thing he saw that would destroy medal hopes.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said of where that comes from sports teams. So, having played at quite competitive levels of sports growing up, it's in the what happens in the locker room at half time. You don't hold back on your feelings to your player if they've let the team down. You say it there and then, or you say it on the pitch when you're in the arena, in the field. You say it there and then, right? And you have that candidness. You'll always shake hands and make up afterwards as part of what the camaraderie of sport and why everyone is so into it, no matter what sport. But it's the same, I think, in the business environment. It probably doesn't happen as much, and there are more personalities and feelings to consider than a 11-a-side football team or a squad. But it should be the same mentality: is rip that band-aid off, have those candid conversations early.
Yeah. And then the managed complexity bit, the necessity to simplify stuff.
Yeah.
How does that contrast with, and you'll be at the forefront of this in the two kind of business themes that your business operates in, put AI into that? Like how are you navigating that complexity and trying to simplify?
Yeah. So the reason when this one stood out for me is when you come up through like a commercial and sales organization, you're often managing managers, teams that tend to have quite similar traits and think the same way. When you move into a leadership or CEO role that is cross-divisional, there's a lot more personalities and a lot more of opinions at stake, and you realise why, because everyone else has a different perspective on what might be the one problem. Even if that one problem is driving revenue or developing a certain customer, that isn't just a sales team's responsibility. Everyone across sales, marketing, people, technology, finance, data and BI, they all have a part to play. So if they've all got the one common goal, there's more complexity to it when there's so many opinions at the table. So you've got to be able to distill it and cut through that noise. To your question on how is that impacted with AI, my answer is twofold, right? So on the face of it, it should be much simpler because a lot of the complexity should be reduced with greater levels of automation and greater levels of information to get to the source of the problem quicker. But as with all new tools, the same as when laptops replaced the desktop computer, and the same as when there was a dot-com bubble, and there's more complexity with any new technology. Technology doesn't just sit in the tech team's responsibility, and especially AI, it is within every function. So it's kind of it's creating efficiencies, but also more complexity as well. So it needs to be managed even harder now that there's AI, because it's not just the human brain and personalities that we are leading and managing. There is the automation that comes through AI, and that complexity, if not managed, creates even more mess and chaos.
Yeah, I can see that. And also you've got that other dimension that everyone's using their own AI, like elements of AI. So, whether you've got people using, like their own ChatGPTs or whatever, outside of systematic agentic platforms that you're running on as well.
Well, look, we're running our business, and we have personal and enterprise accounts across all of the four major ones: GPT, Copilot, Claude, Perplexity, and that's because we're in the middle of a technological revolution. This is super exciting, but it can be chaotic mess if it's not managed.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to manage it in a really unique way where there's not the traditional, this is the swim lane and stay in that technology. They've got to create entrepreneurship and innovation and let people trial it and error it and get used to it to work out where they can get the advantages from. Yeah.
And I think there's a literacy piece, isn't there, as well? Like having everyone being literate to be able to use each different LLM as well is really, really important. There's a bunch of businesses that I've talked to, and they said, well, look, we've gone all in on Copilot, and it's like, well, okay, but Copilot isn't the best tool for this use case. So what are you going to do now? They're like, oh crap! Like now we need to get everyone literate on Claude. And actually, if you don't have that curiosity,
What have you got siblings?
Yeah.
And were you? Do you remember back when you were being taught to swim with siblings when you were younger? Well, I'm not sure what parenting approach your parents took with teaching to swimming. So bear with me on this one.
Go on, you go.
No, you go first.
Okay, so I was taught by my granddad. My granddad threw me in the deep end of a swimming pool.
Right, great.
Yeah.
So I'm one of 4 boys, and there was no chance for lessons. It was like you get in that swimming pool at whatever end of the pool that you can and figure it out. And I think AI, it has to be taught a little bit like that. This isn't like, here is an off-the-shelf product. Now, the user faces are relatively off the shelf, but developing all the time. But people need to swim up to the deep end and get used to trialing it and know that it's okay to make mistakes with the stuff that they're doing. The bit that's unanswered, why every enterprise is worried, is what you touched on earlier. It's the data security, the underlying guardrails around that, which I totally get, and don't have the answer for. Just in case that's your next question.
I was like, Ollie, fix it for everyone. How do we completely? Speaking of the deep end, should we jump in?
Yeah.
Decision sprint?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, cool. So, viewers and listeners of the podcast will know that we have a new format on the Human Loop, and it's a great opportunity for us to use Ethereo's behavioural engine. So what we're going to do is, Ollie's prepared for this by everyone. Not prepared as in he knows the answers or the questions, but I have asked his permission. So you have got 5 cards here. All right, you're going to get to choose one of the cards.
Yeah.
On the back of the cards, it's got a scenario. All right, you're going to be able to read that scenario to yourself, decide whether you want to answer that scenario or pass. You can only pass once. Once you're happy, you tell me which card you've got, which card number. I'm going to read the card out so that you can hear it as well. So I think that's helpful.
Yep.
You're then going to have 5 minutes to basically give your best answer to the scenario. And what we're going to do is we've got Claude here. So the minute I push this Claude over to you, that will then transcribe your answer. That answer will go across the team over there. They will run it through our behavioural engine, and then we'll put your score up later on in the podcast and give you a breakdown of how well you've answered that question in the heat of the moment. Happy?
Can't wait.
Cool. Okay, good stuff. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pick a card.
Not select it. Just
No, you can grab it. You can grab it. Not that one. No, go on, mate. Choose one. Okay, cool. Grab it. Have a read to yourself, and then decide whether you want that one or whether you want to pass.
I'll take this.
Oh, I like that. Okay, I saw what you got. You have got the people card, yeah? Right, okay, so I'm going to read out the people card.
Yeah.
Are we ready? Right, everyone, the people card. This is a scenario. Someone senior who you personally hired, someone you publicly vouched for, is failing in their role. The evidence is undeniable. They're asking for time and patience. Half your senior team think they should already be out. That's tough. The other half is watching to see how you handle this. You've got a leadership offsite in 3 weeks, so that just makes it a bit more spicy. Happy with that?
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Okay, so reminder, you don't have to use all of your 5 minutes, but your 5 minutes is going to be there for you. The minute I pass the Claude across to you, Josh will hit go, and then it's over to you.
Nice.
Right, let's get it going.
I'm not pressing any buttons.
You're not pressing any buttons?
Right.
No, I'm barely allowed to press the buttons.
Yeah.
4:59, over to you.
Nice, okay. So, spicy topic. Definitely, I think I like the question. And the question is, how would I approach this, right? How would I tackle it? So, first of all, I'd be taking some slow time to myself. I'd be probably soundboarding my decision thought process with a sponsor of some kind, my exec coach or my chairman, even though I'd be pretty decisive as a CEO in terms of knowing what I would do, and I would probably write down my plan, my 4-week sprint plan on this. First and foremost, taking that first sentence about someone senior I personally hired and publicly vouched for, I'm going to swear again, I wouldn't give a shit about that. I have humility on that piece. We've all made bad hires. We've all personally vouched for people who are excellent who haven't turned out to be excellent. That's just life, and nobody cares about that really. The evidence is undeniable. It's really interesting. So yeah, I would have liked to have think that if there is mounting evidence that the person is unsuccessful, then that is enough evidence that I would need to be making a call to my piece earlier on, which is if you're going to eat crap, don't nibble it. But they're asking for time and patience. This bit kind of really plays on me a bit. Every individual needs time and patience. As humans, that is what we need. Like, every experienced hire comes in and they don't deliver results as quick as the business expects them to. That is a life fact. Every business, having placed hundreds of people into my customers and having hired people, they're never as quick as a business won't, because the business is always ambitious. So every individual needs time and patience, but it's really quantifying what that time and patience, is. How long and how patient. Are they showing up to one-to-ones effectively? It says that there's, evidence is undeniable, so I'd be really questioning on that evidence. What we've set them at the start, have we onboarded them correctly? Have we set them up for success? Have they got clear probation plans? And then this bit around the senior team, your cabinet thinks that they should be out. God, isn't this relevant at the moment? Any leader is only as good as their team. It's as simple as that, and if you've got a trusting team, you have to obviously listen to their opinions. But it's very interesting that half are thinking that they're out and the other half is watching to see how I would handle this. Firstly, I would say to the half that are stood on the sidelines watching how I would handle this is get in the arena and give me your opinion. I value your opinion. The other half over here have really voiced their opinion. What value are you adding waiting for my decision? We're a team irrelevant of job titles and hierarchy. This individual was hired to be part of this winning team, and if they're not right and aren't working out, I need everybody's counsel on that, and data-led, not emotions-led, in terms of what you've seen from the individual. How haven't they shown up to your one-to-ones? How are they setting up their teams or not setting up their teams? And what damage is it doing to us as a business? And let's rip that band-aid off, or give the person time and patience under a really tight time to help them be a success. So I think every experienced hire comes in with a big target on their back to succeed, and they all need time and patience. But you also can't watch that drift if they're failing. The leadership offsite in 3 weeks. That would be, if a decision's not. I wouldn't. If the feeling amongst the team is half have made up their mind and written the individual off and half are on the sidelines and I'm asking them to get into the arena, the most personal thing for me to do would not be go into that leadership offsite without a decision made of whether we've got a right person in the team. I'm assuming that we would get to that decision before the leadership offsite. Leadership offsites are so valuable in terms of time and resources. You need to make sure you've got the winning team on the field. If everyone's like, actually, the data's showing positive, we want to give this person time and patience, then I would set them up for success at that leadership offsite and give them a chance to shine and support them and have their back and make them a success.
Happy?
Nothing else to add, sir.
Good. Okay. Great stuff. Well done. We'll take that back. Time to spare. So you had like 20 seconds. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. I could have gone on longer, I'm sure.
Got that, Josh? Good stuff. Okay. So how was that?
I felt a bit invigorated about it because, I've been in that situation many a times, as I'm sure you have, having run businesses, and it's easy to say it and talk that game, right? It's very easy to execute on it. So there's no way I've perfectly executed on that every time that a mishire has been made. But I think with experience and time, you get a bit better at this. But yeah, I feel passionate about that, especially giving people the right time and patience. That you've put a lot of time and energy into hiring someone.
Yeah, it's a tough It's a tough card for a reason. Like, it's a tough thing to assimilate in 2 minutes and then go, right, you've got 5 minutes, go for it. What was the most challenging part of looking at that situation for you?
Well, maybe I don't know if this answers the question. What's the newest thing that I would have learned on that? And that is using my coach and my support network at the start around soundboarding my plan without bang, I've got the idea, I know what I'm going to do here, but getting that, validating my plan with my coach, my CPO or my chairman first would be intrinsically the most challenging thing to do, because as a natural leader you sometimes want to think that you've got the answers and going to jump into execution mode. So asking for that counsel and support first is probably the most uncomfortable bit to start with, that I've kind of learned over time.
And that's really interesting. How did you get there? Because I could see you processing, and I could see you go, well, it's almost like that's where I need to start.
Yeah.
So how have you learnt that?
Through failure, through rushing into execution, and then asking for support when the train's left the station. And often you're wanting a vote of confidence on your answer. It gives you confidence. We're humans, right? We thrive off of confidence. So providing you've got the humility to ask for that support up front and the counsel, then it just, for me, it always gives me more reassurance and confidence, even if the decision ends up being the wrong decision.
Yeah. And what happens if you go to your coach, you go to chairman, etc., and you've already formed, I guess we quickly form like our gut. My gut is, okay, this isn't going to work out, or it is going to work out, and you get conflicting initial data from them. How do you deal with that?
That's a really good question. So if that plan that I think you could probably tell I was getting quite passionate about by the pace I was going at with it, if my support network said, nah, don't like that plan, look, just let it go, let the team crack on and see how the offsite goes. Now, big up to my CPO, chair and coach, because none of them would say that, but I think I would be like, okay, that's an interesting perspective. I'll go away and reflect, and I'll probably come back and be like, well, this is the reason why I'm not going to take that plan, that route. These are my reasons, reselling it in, but with maybe a bit more thought about it if there's a genuine challenge. And then as CEO, I've got to live and die by my decision, and I would get going.
Yeah. It's tough though, hey?
Yeah,
super tough. The bit that I wanted to pick up on as well was this other half that's watching. I thought that was really interesting, and your approach to be like kind of shit or get off the pan, basically.
Yeah.
Have you had scenarios where you have been involved in that, and they might be like contemporary, they might be previously, but how have you ever been called out for sitting on the sidelines and someone's been like, come on, Ollie, give me a perspective?
Yeah, definitely. I think as a junior board member, being disengaged on in an idea or something, and not really voicing my opinion as much as I should have, is actually more irritating to manage. Having now being in that position than I'd realised, much earlier on in my career, the apathy and leaning out of an idea versus actually being all in and sat up and inputting, saying, look, no, I just disagree with it. It's a nonsense idea for these reasons, is way more powerful than just acting disengaged and sitting back out of the conversation, out of the arena. Yeah,
and how, because as a junior board member or a junior person in that room, and I agree, you want the best idea must win, that sort of scenario. How can leaders, in your experience, get those junior board members to like prime them that they might say something that they'll think is stupid, or that they lack credibility, they lack tenure, etc.
Yeah.
How do we invite those people in?
This is why the leader and the chair of a meeting is so important, to make sure that they're bringing in others' ideas, because if you're not bringing them in, they can sit out and come across disengaged, or that they don't want to input. But the chair of the meeting, who doesn't need to be the leader of the organisation, has such a key role and really shouldn't be the leader of the organisation, because the leader should be inputting on their own expertise, but the chair of the meeting has a real fundamental role to pull in everybody's opinions, and if you're having meetings without a designated chair, that's often where it falls down.
And so that chairperson is really a facilitator. They're really just there to facilitate the conflict.
Yeah, just to clarify, that doesn't need to be the chairman or chairperson, chairwoman of the business. It's a chair of any meeting. Is that, outside of the two-way meeting, if there's a group meeting, there needs to be a chair who is making sure that they are objectively capturing everybody's views and inputs and bringing other people in to make sure that they've got everything out on the table, because there's nothing worse that if there's a leadership team, there's 5 of you and you're like, yeah, we're all on board, but actually only 4 of you are and one's not, and you go away to go and execute and you realise that's because the one person didn't voice what they said. You all become really pissed off at that individual for them not voicing it. Equally, they were like, well, my opinion didn't feel heard. So it's like, unless you have a really good chair and facilitator on the meetings, it becomes it becomes unmanaged chaos, and that kills the business. Back to the first question that we talked about.
Just to pick up on, because I'm interested in the employee-owned bit as well. Like, you've got, there are I would say a growing number of employee-owned businesses, and I think it's a really interesting model. Where would you say, like, what are the benefits as a CEO of being a CEO of an employee-owned trust, and then what are the challenges?
So benefits are, you can hand on heart stand on the stage and say to every single staff member that the future success of this business and the future value growth of this business will and should materially make a difference to your life.
Okay.
In most other businesses, the senior team may have some sort of share scheme or equity scheme, and often you can communicate that message to them. They then need to get their teams on board with their day jobs, etc. So there is something unique about being able to deliver that message to 200 people. It needs repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating, and then illustrating of what, why, and how. So positives. The challenge with that is with that many business owners in one room, there's a differing level of commercial acumen. So for them, understanding what that value growth means, or why, if we're all leaning into something that it's for the greater good of the company, that therefore benefits all the employees. That different level of commercial acumen means it can be quite slow to get some of those messages through of why you're making tough decisions. While you're making as sad and frustrating it is, but if you were making cutbacks or redundancies and you're doing it for the survival of the business to therefore benefit all of its shareholders, the shareholders being employees, that can be really tough messages, and understandably tough messages for people to understand. So that's probably the positives and an example of the challenges. I could keep going.
No. I just think it's really interesting, because from my perspective, I definitely see the challenges. I see the challenges, but I see so many positives right now in the complexity of today's work, like the complexity of today's society. Being able to communicate to your team that they're doing meaningful work that matters on multiple levels. So for you guys, not only are you solving talent problems, business problems, etc., through your placing people, educating and bringing new skills into workforces. I just think that internal comms bit of being able to create that tribalism around something that isn't an ethereal mission, I think is like, I see it as a competitive advantage, and I don't know if that resonates.
Yeah, it is, and what's tough is that for the employees to often understand in EOTs is they are buying the business from a founder or set of shareholders. They don't part with any cash to buy that. The business pays for that, so that's an upside. They're not parting with any money for that. But it takes a while for that payment to be made to whoever's exiting the business before they start seeing the commercial upside that is to come. So there's patience that they are buying something, but they're not having to part with any cash. The business is paying for it. Once that's paid off to the founders or exiting shareholders, it's all upside for employees from that perspective. Whether that's a future transaction on the business or dividend distributions, is everyone can get in on that. But, a problem with society is always, we want it now. And as you know from building businesses, that doesn't happen overnight. And there's lots of curveballs along the way, and a business doesn't have a straight trajectory of upwards, right? So the reality of becoming a business owner then really starts to settle in. But by and large, the positives outweigh the challenges. People become way more commercially minded, think like business owners, start looking out for employees and the business as an owner would. So there's loads of benefits in that.
Yeah. I think it's a model that I hope we see more of, because I think just talking to lots of businesses as we do week in, week out, there is a real desire to create more engagement in employees, and there's like record disengagement according to Gallup's State of the Workforce survey this year, and I think it creates a why behind getting a good salary, promotions, bonuses, etc. Talking about big things, should we look at your score?
I'd forgotten about that.
I know. I was like, bang, let's go.
What's the score out of?
What's the score out? Scores out of 100.
Nice.
Scores out of 100. Are we ready?
We are ready.
Okay, let's go for it. Oh, okay. So do you want the good news or the bad news?
Bad news.
Bad news. Bad news is we're going to talk about this now. Do you want the good news?
Yeah.
Top of the leaderboard? You are currently top of the operators table.
Oh, wow.
With 57 out of 100.
Wow.
How does that feel?
Surprised, because I see, 57. I'm like, I was going to say anything over 50% I'd be happy with, but very interesting. There's some nice scores on the right.
So these are the 5 areas that make up.
Yeah.
So the 5-dimension scores. So effectively, what we're doing is we're taking the challenge. We're taking the behavioural science and decision-making processes behind it. And then you get your score, so 57 out of 100, you are top of the operator table at the moment. And then you get your archetype. So you get an archetype as how you've approached this situation. And then strengths. So, look at that. Rare psychological honesty. So Ethereal loves that. So it's a card designed to expose defensiveness. Which is like, it just shows like there's real strength in that kind of authenticity to how you approach that question. The watch out, have a read of that. What do you think?
I like, So probably overdoing the diplomacy by the looks of it is my takeaway from that. Describes everything that needs to be considered before a decision without ever making one, meaning the offsite arrives and the team still doesn't know where the leader stands. Nice, yeah. I'm not sure. I'm going to be honest. I'm not sure I agree with that. I said a decision would be made.
You did say a decision would be made, didn't you?
Before the offsite. The person's either in or out. In with our trust and backing, or out the business.
Before and not there.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of challenge there.
Yeah. So show me the robots.
We'll get the robots out and show you a challenge. I think there it's saying you were either or. Yeah. Which I think is.
That's right. I wouldn't sit on one side.
You wouldn't sit on one side.
Not without. For me, I am a person who wants all the facts before. So, from reading that, I wouldn't make a decision on someone's livelihood and their career, but I would be very clear on where we're getting to and by what point.
Yeah, and actually, that conviction score is high, hey? Really high. So that's a strong. The conviction came across. Decision speed. I think that was interesting because I think you were quite reflective and thought things through. There's definitely an element in that enabled you to probably get higher trade-off articulation and clarity.
What does operator density mean?
Operator density is you getting into the nitty-gritty of actually what you would do, when, how, and who with. So getting into like, you kind of began to go there with understanding data and metrics and decision-making processes. For you to score super high on operator density, it probably been like, these are the KPIs that this person we've measured on. This is how they're standing up against those, etc. So I would say it's quite hard to get into that density to get a super high score.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm happy with that now. After some coaching and counselling from you, I'll get through the weekend with my score of being a 57, and knowing that I'm top of today's leaderboard of a few people.
Yeah. So well, look, you're top so far.
What is it? It's the Jeremy Clarkson show.
Top Gear.
This
yeah. So that's
going to put it up
coming.
on there. That's coming.
Right. So at the moment, you are top
I'm there.
of that leaderboard.
Yeah.
Here's my last challenge for you, Ollie. Who do you think I should invite on the show to try and beat your score?
Oh, I think Jim Denning from LHI. He's got a lot of time on his hands. I'm sure he can. I'm only joking, Jim. If you hear this, love you. I think, love to hear his opinions and on here.
Okay, Jim doesn't do a lot of podcasts, I don't think.
No.
But Jim, we need to get you on the decision sprint. So Jim, Ollie's called you out.
Yeah.
I'll invite Jim.
Yeah.
I'll send him a WhatsApp.
Nice.
Ollie, look, thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing your thoughts, your wisdom, and taking the sprint challenge.
Great.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.